Hi everyone, I'm recording this on September 22nd, and I'd like to start by wishing myself a happy 16th anniversary since I stopped drinking soda. I used to be a soda addict, and I actually quit a few weeks before today, 16 years ago. I know it was September because I was going back to school and I had wanted to lose weight in order to impress a girl, and I started with soda. I made a number of lifestyle changes that semester, starting with soda. But I'd like to make a video about some attitudes involved in lifestyle changes, because I noticed this very early on. Very early on, I knew the only way I would successfully get off of the soda was to cut it entirely out of my life. Because any sort of game I would play about cutting back or, or drinking it only at special occasions caused quite a bit of a rift for me. Because if I was drinking it and I knew what it tasted like and I knew how it felt, then I would have to actively not drink it the rest of the time. If it wasn't a part of my life, I didn't have to do anything. I don't have to think about not drinking bleach. I don't have to think about not drinking gasoline. I don't have to think about not drinking, anything else, and soda could just be one of those things. I know I'm sounding a little bit dramatic here, but that's how I felt about it. And it's how I observed it as well. So, this was 2003 when I stopped drinking the soda. Around the time, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have YouTube. I'm not sure we did, but it was very slow at the very least. We had AOL Instant Messaging. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was impressed that I wasn't drinking soda. We were talking about it. And then he mentioned a number of superfoods, which made me think, oh, wow, I'm finally meeting somebody who's not drinking soda as well. And a couple weeks later, we went to my friend's birthday party, my first friend. This is a friend of a friend. And I thought, oh my god, I'm finally going to see, what it's like to be eating healthier. At the time, I had only started to eat healthy. I wasn't eating all the superfoods that I'm eating nowadays, like, for example, baking chocolate or quinoa or seaweed or anything like that. Oh, I was just not drinking soda. And I was still eating red meat. I was still eating a lot of whole grains, and not superfoods. Anyway, so I go to the party, and we sit down. The first thing I see is him picking up a soda and drinking it. And my heart sank, and I thought, did I meet the wrong person? And I say, is that you? And oh yeah, I only drink it occasionally. And I thought I would let it go, because at the time I didn't think I could drink it occasionally. I almost thought he was doing better than I was. And I let it go at that, but I realized at the party I was kind of keeping count. He didn't know I was keeping count. But I noticed he had drank close to a gallon of soda during the course of the party. And he was still claiming he only drank it at parties, so I let it go. And then I saw him for another occasion. It wasn't a party the next time, it was just a get-together. And we went to a fast food restaurant. Sure enough, he ordered soda. And it just reinforced the idea that this is a very difficult game that he's trying to play to cut back on the soda. A couple years ago, I went to a shogi tournament, and one of my opponents, I had known him from a number of other shogi clubs, and he asked me for a cigarette, and I thought that was crazy. I never knew him to be a smoker, and I didn't think he would think I was a smoker either, but he asked me for a cigarette. And I was like, are you kidding me? I didn't say, are you kidding me? But I got this very puzzled look. And then he answered by saying, oh yeah, I only smoke occasionally. That's why I don't even buy them. And he says, oh yeah, I don't have a problem. It's just that I was very stressed out about this game. I was winning, and then I made a blunder, and I'm just really stressed out. And he made this excuse. But he started going around every table asking for a cigarette. And it's kind of interesting. Japan has a very high smoking rate. I think it's some 40 to 50%. But the Japanese Americans that make it to America have a very low smoking rate, which is kind of funny when you go to any sort of Japanese club. And so he was asking everybody for a cigarette. And eventually he gave up. I think he's just too cheap to buy them. He smokes them occasionally, all the time, probably, is how I would think of it. He probably goes to a party and asks for cigarettes. He goes to play shogi and asks for a couple cigarettes. Maybe he's on the street and he asks somebody for a cigarette. And there's this joke, like, what brand do you smoke? And it's like, OPs. And what do you mean? Other people's cigarettes. And he's just too cheap to buy them. And then I was at another club. This was a backgammon club one time. And there was some soda, and obviously I said no. And one of the guys there, he's very young. He's I think he's 12 or 13 years old. He asked me, how do I stop drinking soda before I get addicted to it? And it was really funny. I had to bite my lips because I almost wanted to laugh at him. What do you mean before? If you're asking this, you're an addict. And then I on Facebook, it's kind of interesting. I know some people who are a little bit high profile. I know the winner of the first season of Polish Idol, and I know one of her friends, and she had, her friend had quit smoking when she was 16 years old, but she took it up again a few months after that. See, she had started smoking when she was only 7 or 8 years old, because back in Poland, this was pretty common back then. In the 1980s and 1990s, Poland experienced hyperinflation. A lot of people used cigarettes as almost like their currency, and so a lot of kids took up smoking around that time. But she had quit when she was 16 and had relapsed. And we were talking about it, and she says she doesn't know how she relapsed. She just kind of slid back to smoking. And well, I asked her, was there any events going on? And then she finally fessed up that she had met a boyfriend, and he smoked, and so she smoked. And I asked her, oh, did you end up marrying him or something? And no, I forgot totally about him. So she ended up smoking for another 8 years after that. She eventually quit after that, but she ended up smoking another 8 years just to impress a boy that she doesn't even know today. And she spent a lot of money on that. In Poland, cigarettes are pretty expensive relative to their GDP. I mean, it's cheap for us when we go there, but it's pretty expensive relative to the GDP of Poland. And she probably lost a few years of life expectancy. She could have used those few years of life expectancy to meet somebody better. And then she tells me that she doesn't know how she went back to smoking. She went back with the first cigarette that she took after she had quit. I mean, so I've never seen, the point I want to make is I've never seen the game of cutting back or doing something in moderation played out well in the long term. In the short term, yeah, it might appear to play out well, but you have to be honest with yourself. So before I had stopped drinking soda when I was 16 years old, my parents had forced me to cut back. We would go to the store, the grocery store, every week or every 2 weeks, and they would only buy as much soda as they thought I should be drinking. At the time, I didn't drive yet. We lived in the suburbs where you have to walk about 1.5 miles to go to the grocery store. I remember I attempted to walk to the grocery store a few times, so didn't quite make it. And so I needed them to buy it and bring it home in order to drink it, and they would only buy as much as they thought I should be drinking. And I knew I was never happy with that. I only found happiness with soda after I quit drinking it. You know, before that, yeah, I was forced to drink it in moderation, but at a very uncomfortable level. Or, you know, I was sneaking it somewhere else, and I was getting very overweight, and caused a lot of other problems. So you just have to be honest with yourself. And I've never seen the game played perfectly. And I guess if you have, please feel free to leave a comment, and I'll take a look at it. But I think it's a very rare case. Thanks for watching.